magistrates and courts require you to speak in, and that's different from like me and you, the informal lingo, you know. And yeah, and it's a lot. It's and many people say, like, you know, they say, is, you know, is it's like Suits, for instance, you know, the series. And I'll say it's much different to Suits, you know. At times, you, like, for instance, even at the criminal matters, I'm sure even, you know, Naledi will tell you that there are some matters you might think of, you'll be doing like you know, when you really have that passion for it, and you've been thinking of, like, you'll be doing the Oscar Pistorius type of matters, you know. Meanwhile, you know, you might be doing an adjournment for someone who shoplifted, you know, at Pick and Pay or ShopRite, you know, for razor blades or something like that. But they are good, and a type of interesting aspects of it. And all I'll say is that it was definitely not exactly what I anticipated, and it did shape my growth, you know, all the experience that I attained, because like the best way you get experience is by just giving your absolute best. You throw everything out, you know, and you just do your best, learn as much as you can. If you have a specific matter that needs a specific, you know, act or deals with a specific part of law, you have to take the initiative, try, you know, and get as much assistance as you can from other attorneys that you know, or close friends, and just have that close knit type of thing. And again, these are just things that weren't really warned about or told about during our studies and stuff like that. It's just things you ended up knowing, and before you know it, you've already established connections with other people in the litigations. We all, like, in courts and everything. Because now, from like my very first year in like articles to now, I would never have thought that I'd know certain advocates that I know, you know, and other attorneys and directors and other law firms and stuff like that I know, you know, and other attorneys that I've grown with, you know. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's the connections that you also grow that actually really help. And, you know, and people, like some magistrates and other people, they really love seeing you being like a moving train, you know what I mean? They don't see you, if you the type of just relax and sit down and, you know, not have a drive, not have a push, they sometimes don't want to support that. They want to support someone who's as passionate in what they do, you know, just like you, you know what I mean? So they will always want to see how you're doing and support you, and how, and just, you know, get inspired off of that. So I did learn quite a bit that, you know, that it is very, very different, you know. But I learned that, and I'm happy.
No, I appreciate that. I think, you know, in all industries, having connections is very important. And I think you sharing that insight is quite informative for a lot of people. Now, Naledi, on your side, and I think maybe to an extended question to the previous person, what does your day-to-day look like, especially in your particular practice? And what do you do? What would you consider, on a simple, brief explanation, what would you say your day-to-day looks like in your particular field, in your particular firm, for you?
All right. My day generally starts in court. Every morning, probably 3 days of a month, I probably don't go to court, but most mornings I start in court. It can be a matter of being there for an hour. So, you know, I'm leaving court at 9:30, 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30 if I'm lucky. And then the rest of the day I'm in the office. Sometimes then, if it's trial or if the postponement tends to take long, then you know, maybe later on in the afternoon, but generally start in court. When I finish, then I go into the office. It's a rare day and a beautiful day when I don't have to start in court, because sadly, when you run a practice where you litigate, you then are either in civil matters with other people who don't do court. So they're expecting you, or some of your clients, in fact, are expecting you to be in the office all day. And when you don't then respond at the speed that they're expecting you to, they think you're just wasting time and you're not playing along, or they think you're playing the long game. And it's like, you have to explain, I've got matters to do, I've got other things to do. And then there's the war that we have with the court personnel, because it's nothing for an prosecutor to say to you, oh, we'll get you a matter, just wait. And it's always just wait around. And I continuously have to explain to them, for you are at work, you're sitting, you're doing something here at court. For me, I have to do this postponement. I still have 10, 15 other matters that I have to attend to when I get back to the office. So just wait for me is wasting my time, actually taking money from me, because time really is money. And if I don't get to my matters, I've got angry clients, I've got angry opponents. But typically my day must start in court, or does start in court, and then the rest of the day, then I'll be in office.
Sheesh. I think, my stereotype of a lawyer would be someone who's looking at 600-page documents, half in Latin, and you're trying to interpret legal cases and looking at references from previous cases, and you're basically at your desk for 17 hours of the day. You probably don't have a social life, and that's the stereotype that you typically see from a lawyer. But then weekends, you're driving a nice Mercedes-Benz, going to have champagne with your friends. So that's my interpretation of what the typical lawyer life looked like. But I'm glad you guys at least are breaking some of the misconceptions that some people may have. Naomi, maybe to that question then, what are the typical misconceptions that you think people have around the particular field? And especially for you now that you've transitioned from obviously studying to now working, and obviously you've moved now to a different firm, how is that experience and that transition for you?
I think for me, one of the biggest thing has been, I think growing up, a lot of people, there's a myth going around that in order to be a good lawyer, you have to be talkative. You have to have an extroverted personality. And one of the joys of, finally being into practice is getting to kind of debunk that myth. It is a myth. I was told a couple of times while studying that, I'm too quiet and too reserved to be a lawyer. Mind you, there are different kinds of lawyers. There's your litigation lawyers. There is what I like to call like boardroom lawyers who just sit in the office and behind a desk. And I'm still quiet. I'm still very much reserved, but that has not hindered me from, doing good work, from being recognized, and from planting myself into this practice and penetrating spheres I never thought I would have, because you take it to heart. You tend to overthink when somebody's telling you, okay, maybe I am too reserved. Maybe in order to be a good lawyer, I have to be more talkative, and that's not the case. I have this platform for women in law where I have used the platform to really network and get to know other lawyers. And yeah, just being reserved, being a bit less talkative has not hindered my ability to be a good lawyer. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me, realizing that, there are different kinds of lawyers. We might be, I would say, in order to just oppose that kind of thinking that most people have, I would say one of the things that lawyers do a lot is probably a lot of writing and a lot of reading. I think we have to read. We read a lot. I'm always reading something new. There's always case law, trying to, even for litigators, like it's a lot of reading, but a lot of talking. I completely disagree, and I feel like I've been able to prove that wrong in practice.
Perfect. And I think even I'm not in the legal field, but my profession, typically people expect you to be, you have a portfolio of clients in the financial services and you expect to be this social person and playing golf. But anyway, that's my own problem I have to deal with. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions around a lot of careers. But I appreciate at least your insight around some of these misconceptions that exist. I don't know about Shadi, if you also relate to some of these misconceptions, but particularly in your field. You also, like Naomi, do the conveyancing part, and obviously you probably do a lot with the deeds office. What does a day-to-day look like for you particularly? And also maybe to an extended question for everyone else going back later on about the job opportunities that are out there for someone who's probably still studying law. What would you say, is it convincing, especially in these tough times that we're in? This COVID pandemic happened, the economy is not looking good. What are the job opportunities from someone who's working as a lawyer or in the legal field? Would you say there's enough job opportunities or not?
In terms of job opportunities, oh my goodness, on a day-to-day basis, sorry, I've come to realize that it's so scarce. Not that the jobs are not there. Let me actually paraphrase them. The jobs are not there. They're there. Our biggest fear, because I'm just going to be really honest with you, is hiring the people that are able to do the work. And your approach in terms of seeking the work, You can't come into my personal Facebook and request for a job with emojis and that kind of thing. How do you expect me to take you serious? I'm not your friend, you know. You're looking for work. Take yourself seriously. I always say, before I changed to office, because I moved from Joburg to Bryanston side. Joburg has a lot of, walk-in kind of candidates. Those are my people. They're putting in the effort, and you find somebody dressed up, not necessarily expensive, just dressed up, making an effort, going out there to just physically submit their CVs. My previous employees, that's how I actually hired them. I look for personality. I don't care about your CVs. I've had cum laude students, it didn't work out because the personality didn't fit with what I'm looking for. I'm a very casual, easy going individual at my office. I believe that you spend majority of your time there. You need to relax. We're not, building robots there. It's easy going, but just get the work done. Dress code, just be presentable, be clean, that kind of situation. So it says a lot. Your presentability, how you present yourself, that's it. Just go out there confident. That's it. That's what I look for. I'm speaking for myself. I don't know about other people. Others, I've visited a couple of friends of mine, their law firms, and it's yes, ma'am, yes, sir, every day on the phone. And I'm like, no, this is not my personality. The day I become this person, it means I'm lying. I'm a very easy, people that know me personally. I go to the deeds office in my tracksuits, and I'm naturally very short. I look like a 16-year-old child. So I'm overlooked in most things to say this child, but then I'm saying I'm here to do my work. And when they see the person behind the brand, they're like, wow, this is you. I'm like, yeah, it's me. I'm just this little girl, but I'm just here to do the work. It's nothing personal. The narrative that I'm trying to push is that a typical person can do this. That is my whole thing that I'm pushing for. It's not somebody that, sitting in a glass house and spinning on a chair and the table is clean. No. I'm from a village. And I always say that growing up, when you heard the lawyer, you have this image in your mind. And I'm trying to change that image in a young child's mind to say, a lawyer is just like any other person. We just studied, did this, and you just put in the work, pretty much. But all I'm saying is that for people that are looking for articles, just put a bit of effort. Please don't send your CVs go to Facebook and Instagram. For me, I just click, move on, click, move on. I don't even entertain you. But if you want to engage me, say, I'm facing these kind of challenges. How can I overcome them? I'm always that sister with the ear to say, listen, the reality is, I'm living this. I tell people I have a lot of mental breakdowns in the process. I keep it raw. I keep it real and giving it to you as it is. So that's just my 2-cent piece.
No, appreciate that. Before I go to Muzi, Naledi, I see you raised your hand. I don't know if you want to extend on to what you just said.
Yes, just to extend onto, the quality of what's coming out of university, the people who are seeking the jobs. It's so disappointing because, my brand is to try and empower as many people, particularly, especially young women, because there is space for them, but there is not enough place for them within the law. So I try to give as much space as possible. But to get a CV where you've scanned your documents and they are not legible, I actually cannot read what's there, yet you forwarded that on to your potential employer. You are sending a CV. The worst thing I've received is when someone has copied or CC'd about 6 law firms in one email applying for a job. And how am I then supposed to take you seriously? You didn't even have you couldn't take the time to copy and paste the same email over and over, yet you copied Makaba and Midgley attorneys, this attorneys, that attorneys, that attorneys. We want to employ people, but when I see that much laziness in you seeking a job, what's going to give me the confidence that once you get the job, you will apply yourself properly in the job? And I have people hitting me up on LinkedIn and trying to get a job. And I understand LinkedIn is supposed to be this professional platform, but requesting to follow me on LinkedIn is not going to get you a job. Sending me an inbox on LinkedIn. Once you get on my LinkedIn, or if you found me on my LinkedIn, you can find my firm's website, then get my email address and send. The first person we actually hired was a person who just sent us an email requesting an internship, and we took her on. We interviewed her. We saw the drive that she had, and we took her on that way. But if you then won't present yourself in a manner that shows that you care and you actually want this job, then you're not going to get very far in this profession. Just take time. So many people, I tell them, take the time, present yourself in a manner that the person on the other end, reviewing your CV or reviewing your application, is impressed. And it doesn't need you to be cum laude. It doesn't need you to be anything impressive. Just put your best foot forward. And the foot that some of the candidates are putting forward is not impressive at all.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think even just beyond the legal space, I think a lot of people don't have training. Maybe this is the thing around maybe our education system that, people are not informed and given the resources and puts emphasis around how to actually get a job. Because one thing, you get a cum laude, you have all the distinctions. Your CV, you may have everything on paper, but the actual paper and the presentation, how you interact with people, is not actually landing you the job. Naomi, I see you raised your hand, and then I think I'll go to Muzi after that. Naomi?
I just wanted to touch on what the previous speaker said. Totally agree. I think, even though we are, at the age of social media and everything is being done through social media, you have these social media lawyers, it's still important to remember etiquette. If you're going to DM somebody on Instagram, Twitter, even LinkedIn about, a job or employment, you still have to follow certain etiquette, still have to follow certain professional kind of skills. So I think that's very important. It can't be casual. It's not a casual situation. So yeah, just wanted to agree with that.
I appreciate that. I think to move the conversation forward, and this was because obviously I spoke to some people who are obviously either still studying law, and there's some questions they obviously asked me to pose to some of you guys. And there was a question, maybe I can pose this to Muzi, around, you come from a disadvantaged background, right? And your family probably doesn't have much financial resources to support itself. And as a result, you probably are now in the legal field studying and all that. And you're trying to get a job. You're probably going to look at applying at the Norton Rose, do your articles and all that. You're trying to get yourself a nice big firm. And the question, therefore, is, from a financial point of view, and maybe this is a misconception, is it important for one to look at getting a job at the big firm or trying to be that guy at a big firm to secure yourself financially? Or is there resources and is there a reward from working also hard within a small firm, or starting your own firm in a micro level? Is the financial aspect, because I asked the same question to the IT guys, and there's also kind of a variance around that. What's your view on that particular point?
Okay, my view would be that look, to be honest, if you go, it just depends on what you want out of it. You see, if you purely are trying to land like a big job at a big firm just to get more finances in, it's almost like now you've put your passion and the whole reasons of you studying law and your future on like a second footing, and you put in that drive of money on the first, on the priority list, which is a bit wrong, because the truth is, it's some of the big firms are very good. They do train their candidates, and some of them have a good environment, sure, what I've heard, and others don't necessarily do that. Some of them, they have this tendency of not giving big work to candidates because they're very new and it's a bit of a risk, and other places like medium firms or smaller firms have this thing of allowing candidates to handle certain type of work, and the risk is different, and I'll say they become more competent and they do more. And at the end of the day, I think you want a bit of a balance when it comes to that financial question, because that's how I ended up approaching things, where if you are new and you're a candidate or anything and you are new to the fraternity, one thing you want is a place where you can get a lot of experience and also feel, that you are paid the way you wish to be paid. You can't be demanding 50,000 Rand per month when you have zero experience to offer to that place you want to work at. Because at the end of the day is that you are, to any employer, you will always be a financial risk or a commercial risk, should I say. It always depends on how well you do for